京から地方へと飛び火し、日の本を戦火で覆い尽くした。
Samurai Warriors 5 is the newest entry in the Warriors franchise. Is a more focused story and a new coat of paint enough to elevate the series into the history books? Or is it more of the same? Let's take a look. One of the first things anyone would notice about the game is its change in presentation. Now it features a cel-shaded look. Personally, I love this change to a more distinct style. It's colorful and pops really well compared to past entries and their more semi-realistic aesthetic. This is used to give characters and environments a lot more pizzazz than before. I never got sick of looking at it, and I hope more effort goes into this style in the future. The characters in particular look great this time around. Everyone got a complete overhaul in their design. They have their usual over-the-top fashion sense that probably isn't historically accurate, but awesome nonetheless. Each character has a ton of detail put into their look, and it won't be hard to find a favorite. The stages too are impressive this time around, but they still don't quite stand out as a whole. Occasionally, you'll come across a nice background or notice the cherry blossoms, but they never make themselves too noteworthy. And of course, the Warrior series is known for its rock soundtrack, while being infused with classical instruments as well. It's the same here, and a lot of the new mixes are welcome. I should note that there's only Japanese voice acting this time around. While accurate, it may be a turnoff for those who simply want to hear the dialogue instead of having to read subtitles.
なぜだ。なぜ動かない。殿、何をほうけて。密集しちょうだい。殿。
The story this time around is a more focused affair. Instead of the entire Sengoku era of Japan, this time around it chooses to hone in on two people, Nobunaga and Mitsuhide. It follows the two in their various adventures during their lives. It's a welcome twist on the series, and it keeps it from retreading the same plot points of older titles, something that is a common complaint about the series. It plays out in two routes in story mode, with a more intimate take to overall events. As a result, there is more characterization and information to be had about the leads and their situations. Of course, it wouldn't be a game unless certain liberties are taken to keep things more interesting. One point of contention I did have with this, however, is that some missions overlap and simply give a second perspective on events before and after the stage. It's pretty disappointing when this happens, but I'm glad to say that overall, there are still a good amount of unique stages between the two. The story playing out this way does make it feel somewhat like a soft reboot or something, but I welcome it. Also, it needs to be said that the roster does see quite a number of cuts, given the change to a more focused location and time of events. Of course, this makes sense, but if you had your favorite character cut, it'll still be a point of contention. Gameplay is where things mostly remain the same, however. At its core, it's still the Warriors' formula of combat. The complexity of squares and triangles isn't very deep, but personally, I find it hits just right when I decide to jump into the series. Each character, of course, has the same basic layout of controls, but there are some small differences between them. Things like the Muso attacks and some unique attacks, depending on what is equipped, are some differences. Your character attacks are based on the weapon they're using. Each character can use each weapon, but everyone has their specialty. The specialty weapon usually has some kind of extra attack or property unique to them, but for the most part, everyone uses the weapons in the same way. Once again, this might be disappointing for those of us who remember the entire roster being completely unique in previous entries. There is a decent variety of weapons, and they're all very different in how they feel, but of course, it was a bit disappointing to unlock a new character and see them wielding the same weapon as someone else. Something that is unique between all characters are the Muso attacks. No matter what weapon you have, this will remain unique. They're a spectacle to let loose, and now we even get cool 2D art when setting off the powered up version. I honestly really loved this, and it had me trying to get a snapshot of every character's art. Though it is weird that there are a few characters who didn't get this treatment, because I guess maybe they just weren't important enough. Overall, the gameplay is still fast and furious, with you cutting down thousands of enemies a stage to complete objectives. These aspects haven't changed very much and remain core to the series. Also, it features several difficulty modes to keep the challenge for those who want it. Supplementing all this hacking and slashing are various things to upgrade. Characters, weapons, horses, shops, and so on can be upgraded with various materials. Characters can learn extra skills which boost passives and more. Weapons can have their traits altered to give extra effects. Horses can be made faster and stronger. And the various shops expand on their available services as they grow. Each gives something to grind for as you play. Complementing the story mode is Citadel mode. Citadel in particular are smaller missions that have several objectives to do. The better score you get on completion, the more resources you gain after. It's the main mode for grinding materials for your various upgrades, but all can be gained in any gameplay mode, thankfully. I didn't max out everything, but once I was wrapping up the story, it did feel like there was enough to do to keep the gameplay going for a good while longer if I wanted. Overall, Samurai Warriors 5 feels similar to previous entries, and doesn't really push the needle into vastly new directions as a whole package. The new art style is awesome and well realized. It's something I look forward to each time I turn the game on. The gameplay is still cozy, button-mashing action that you either love or hate. I personally enjoyed the more focused story, but the smaller roster will be pretty contentious for those who have more experience with the series. It has a good amount of extras to grind for as well, for those who are into that sort of thing. As a more casual fan of the franchise who only checks in every few entries or so, I personally really enjoyed my time with Samurai Warriors 5. I think at this point, you're either interested in these titles or you're not. But if you're curious, I think this one is a great entry point thanks to a more condensed story and memorable look. Hey, thanks for watching this review. Hit the thumbs up, like, sub, follow the Twitter, and maybe even stop by my Twitch channel where you can see me play games like this live and more. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.